If I don't say it, who else is going to say it? And let me try my best to be as tactful, respectful, and responsible as possible while telling the truth. Because you know just as well as I do, if you want to be hated in this world, I don't care if it's social, political, economic, religious perspectives or point of views, all you have to do is tell the truth. Now, we live in a world where people say, what is your truth? Well, if I have my truth, you have your truth, they have their truth, she has her truth, he has his truth, there's bound to be some disagreement concerning that truth. And there's going to be contention. And pretty soon, if my truth doesn't prevail over yours, or yours doesn't prevail over mine, both of us can't live in this world. One of us got to go. You want to hear more about stuff like this, you consider looking down in the description and coming over and joining me on my Patreon channel. But let's go with it. Lately, I have been watching a few sitcom or what you would call movie series. And mostly coming from across the pond over there. When I say across the pond, I mean it mostly comes from a European perspective. And I'm watching the erosion of traditional values. And I'm watching a culture literally not, if it was so natural to be happening, then why is it demanded of the American public society? Why do they have to force laws upon people, put gag orders on people, and take away freedom of speech if it's so natural and if everything is so acceptable? Why do they have to try to do everything they can to protect the ones who are trying to infuse their culture perspective on those of us who have conservative, traditional values? Are you following me? So why is it that nowadays that in order for everybody to be at peace, you have to have a gag order put over your mouth in order to make another type of people feel better about themselves? And not only that, now they're trying to tell you how to identify and what to say about them and how to call them, even though it's something that you definitely are either not going to do or don't want to do. Because I can tell you right now, this is my mouth. And I understand. Listen, I'm not going to go stand in the middle of an airport and say, bomb! I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go into a movie theater and holler, gun! There's a certain things, it should be common sense, that you simply just don't do. Certain things. You know, like, I'll give you an example. Let me digress for a second, all right? And I hope I give somebody wisdom right here. I remember one time I was checking a rifle in at Delta. I fly Delta a lot. Sometimes American Airlines, but mostly Delta. And there was this one agent, you could tell she was brand new. And of course, you know, a lot of people out there, when they're in positions of quote unquote so-called influence or power, people love making up laws when they're really nothing more than preferences. They love making up these things as they go. All right. And so people like adding addendums and adding stuff. And if you ask them to show you the law, they can't do it. And then when you say, well, let me speak to a supervisor, supervisor comes and overrides them, then they have to eat crow and choke down, and they get all upset because, see, we're traveling, we do this stuff all the time. I mean, you would think simply because of the way I approach this situation, it would let these people know I know what I'm doing. Henceforth, what I'm talking about is traveling with one of my primary firearms, right? And then the lady said to me, is it unloaded? I said, yes, it is. And she says, well, can you please show me it's unloaded? You know, I'm talking about a primary. This is my primary, right? Something like that. I looked at her and said, ma'am, let me tactfully and respectfully try to speak to you. I have this weapon laid out here in this case. You can clearly see it. You see the ammunition is separate from the gun, from the weapon. All right? You see the magazines are emptied. This particular firearm case is 100% compliant. So basically what I'm telling you is, I am not touching that weapon in this airport. If you want to make sure for your own personal conscious safety or whatever it is, you want to make sure that weapon is cleared, you want to make sure it's not loaded, then I'm going to ask you, you get on that horn, you call a police officer down here, or you call TSA or whoever you have to call, and you let them come and check that. Because the last thing I'm going to do is there's going to be a police officer walking behind me and I can't see him. And I'm picking up this weapon, and the first thing I do is charge the handle to clear, and then I get a bullet in the back of my head or a bullet in my neck coming out of nowhere because somebody think they have a make my day moment. I'm not touching that weapon. Now, that's the reason why I'm here early for cases just like this. So if you want your conscience cleared, call them. Have them to come and check it out. After that long spiel, she finally just set the little tag on top and I signed it. Then we put it in the case. Back to culture. So, the culture that has always been traditional marriage, and when I say traditional marriage, I don't mean like Americans speak. Everything that I talk about has the undertone and overtone of biblical perspectives. Not the way that false religion is presented, because religion itself is 100% bona fide false. I mean, Christianity is a prime example of that. And don't get me wrong, when I tell you that Christianity is false, I'm not saying that Jesus Christ is false, because the real Jesus Christ is real. I'm talking about this fake fairy tale one that they're trying to present to you as Jesus Christ. He's false. That one's false, because that Jesus Christ doesn't teach you to obey the Bible. It teaches you to obey the religion of Christianity, which is not in the Bible at all. And of course, I know what people are going to do, but we'll get to that later. So, we got people trying to force us to speak in pronouns. Trying to force us to accept them. Listen, I'm a black man that lives in the South. If somebody wants to be racist, I can't force them to accept me for who I am. I'm just glad when they manifest racism. I'm personally myself, I'm so glad to know who they are. Because it sure is nice to know who your enemies are, especially when they express themselves, rather than you trying to figure it out. Because a lot of times you can't judge facial expressions. But it sure is nice to be able to know them. Isn't it nice to know them? But I personally am going to be forced into this paradigm. And as a pastor, I preach and teach to not only the people who watch and listen to me every Sabbath, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time here on YouTube at Straitway.com. I tell them the truth concerning the word. And we're not going to be forced to comply with this word. I don't agree with the Supreme Court's decision in 2015 that they made. I don't agree with it at all. And as such, I'm going to continue to keep preaching and teaching against the alternative lifestyle, because it's my right as an American. It's my right, first of all, as a human being. Because, do you know what the Bible says? That a sodomite shall not enter into the congregation of the Most High God, but a sodomite is an abomination. Can you believe that? It speaks vehemently against all these ways. So I've been watching these European series, right? And every single time, everybody today is defining love based on a feeling. Can I help you out a little bit and tell you what love is? Love, in its purest sense and essence, is a responsibility. And in that responsibility, love has to do with sacrifice. And the truthfulness of love is preferring others before yourself. I said preferring. And I'm not talking about just in and out everybody, because you got people out there that will try to use and abuse you. But I'm talking about those who have a good conscience. I mean, after all, don't the book say no greater love than this, than a man lay down his life for his friends? An enemy is not your friend. When it says, and it makes a statement, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer That's not telling you that your enemies per se, those that are across the pond that want to wage war against us. That's talking about those who are among you, who you know that y'all disagree with each other, who you know that you're in conflict and at odds. They are considered as an enemy. And if they are considered as an enemy, then, you know, wisdom would teach you, keep them close to you. But see, if you start talking like this, man, people, they go crazy, literally all over the face of planet Earth. But I teach, my son, you are a man, that is a woman. And all you have to do is look down between your legs and there's no confusion. Because two of you can't make a baby male or a baby female. Isn't that simple? That's really simple, isn't it? Yes, Father. Yes, Father. Daughter, come here. That is a man, you are a woman. The whole purpose of us existing is to continue on the species. You cannot do that with woman and woman, man and man, like the book says in Leviticus. Mankind should not lie with mankind. It's an abomination. And then over in the book of Romans, the first chapter, even as the woman who left, even as a woman who left the natural use. I mean, so today we got to ask ourselves, what is truth? Is the Supreme Court the truth? Are we supposed to follow it because we live in this world and we live in a society? Or do we obey the supreme truth of the creator of the universe as given to us by the book? I mean, everything's an acid test. Well, I don't accept that. That's your prerogative not to accept it. But again, that don't mean you can impose and infringe on me. I mean, it's like right now. We just got finished going through an epidemic now, and now all of a sudden, the people at the highest order of government right here is telling people, I think we made mistakes. I think we forced something that shouldn't have been. And you know what I'm doing? I'm so glad that I exercise my liberty and right and freedom to live as I want and make my own choices and decisions. I am so glad I did that. Because right now people are hurting and people are falling out all over the place. Well, let me end this video on this. Over in the Apocrypha, the book of Ecclesiasticus, commonly called Sirach, 38:15, it says, "He that sinneth before his maker," and mind you, only one made us all, "let him fall into the hand of the physician." Go read that and get some understanding. And I hope that you come over and join me over at Patreon, where I talk a hell of a lot more frankly. Because, you know, all of a sudden we got all these gag orders on us now. We can't, you know, that's the reason why I'm in this video. If you notice, I'm saying a lot of things, but I'm not offending nobody. I'm not using inappropriate language. I'm meeting what these continual changes in YouTube's community guidelines. You don't never know what they are 1 minute to the next, because whenever they ban you, block you, whatever it is, they never show you the guideline. They never show it to you. And if they do show you the guideline, it's convoluted. I mean, it's like, what? And then you go back and look at the video. That ain't what that said. But it's all open to interpretation, isn't it? Anyway, y'all have a wonderful, wonderful, blessed day.